I guess my entryway into this film is more through surrealism that I'd say than necessarily horror. And 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 um and so I guess I'm thinking of surrealism and or horror kind of in a broader sense. And uh I don't know. It's Gustine and I. Neither of us set out to make a horror film. Um, it's there's just some horrifying elements to this character and what this character is going through.
Yeah.
Um, and so at the moment we've just started our festival run with two festivals, and they've both been horror festivals. And I've been aiming at horror festivals because I felt like, well, that might be the easiest place for us to find a home for this kind of film.
Yeah.
Um, that's my best response. But I mean, I do love horror, but in terms of, but I'm more coming at this through surrealism and psychological intensity. I'm really into the works of like David Lynch and Lars von Trier.
I was gonna say
Um,
it definitely feels very Lynchian. A lot of the visuals.
Great,
Yeah.
we love that.
I would answer, I had a different answer to the question. I recall before we even, you know, entered into the project itself, Justin and I went to see um, Panos Cosmatos's film Mandy. And
Yeah, yeah.
we had so much fun in being audience members. And it was so invigorating seeing that film. And then I would say, in a similar vein for me, uh, the film Titan, which is a body horror, I would call that
Yeah.
a body horror film. There's an echo there in both films for me in a desire to evoke something in the audience member on a physical felt level.
Yeah.
Um, and I think Lynch also does that as well. It really intensifies an atmosphere um, that is personal for the viewer. It becomes a real personal experience how one engages with that atmosphere. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, I think Eraserhead by Lynch is very like it. It's so weird and it's so like yeah, like you said, physical. It like makes you feel something that you can't really describe. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm into
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, because your film does that a lot too, especially with the dream state that it kind of immerses you in. Um, so kind of like
Yeah.
looking out, like thematically looking at your film, the sins of the past. I'm kind of curious, like what was on your mind in conceiving this idea?
Justin, you want me to take that?
Well, yeah, because it starts with
Yeah.
Gusty.
Yeah. A lot was on my mind. Um, okay, I'll specifically what was happening for me at the time was I was in a specific kind of job where I was working with a lot of children, and it was conjuring up a lot of images for me of this might sound so wild, the Salem witch trials and the power that children have
Hmm.
to, you know, um, kind of rally together around a narrative, and take it on as a reality. And then that started to stir up ideas about psychogenic illnesses, contagion, And then I started to wonder about kind of a singular contagion and how that links up um, potentially with epigenetic research related to trauma and how trauma might echo through a bloodline. And there's so much research around this related to the Holocaust and obviously the slave trade. You know, these are the two big points on the map where lots of concentrated research is done. But I started to think about what I was playing with as far as the witch trials go. And then it started to move out into thinking about my own kind of white Anglo-Saxon background. And no doubt about it, there are Puritans in this lineage. And then what does that mean? And then all of, this meditation on sexual repression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What does it mean to be a single white female? And how many different ways can that go? And it just kind of started to blow out from there. And then Justin and I started playing really hard in that landscape.
Now, Justin, how do you connect to that?
To all of what she just said.
Yeah. Yes.
um, I mean, where I came into the process was that, I guess, pedaling a little further back from this, is that Gustine and I come from a background of theater and experimental performance work in Los Angeles, and we've worked a lot with each other in that vein. And so we've been in a relationship of working with each other. And Gustine was having these ideas and these images around the Salem witch trials. And at that time, we were playing and sketching with the video camera a lot. And we have, Gustine and I just have very similar, I think, interests in terms of like imagery and storytelling. And so where I come in was like she had an idea. I was like, okay, I'm down, let's play. Um,
Yeah,
and so that's where it started. And actually, this whole thing started with as a dance film.
it
Gustine
did.
was Gustine was imagining this group of women in a natural landscape, and she started concocting this kind of sketch that we were gonna film. And in the flow of going out up to north of or in Ojai, which is a town a bit north of Los Angeles. We went out there and we're essentially just kind of sketching with the camera um, some of these concepts that Gustine was having, just using her body, her character, um, to then put that on to a group of women. But as process goes, it changed, and that sketching evolved into the film that we saw.
Yeah. You
That's the
say that
truth.
you have theater experience. I feel like I get that sensibility to the story and the visual presentation that it definitely feels that comes across pretty evidently. Um, I have a theater background as well, so it's interesting to see um, looking at the movements because you notice you mentioned dance. So how did you take kind of the movement and kind of bring it into this new incarnation?
Um, I have an extensive psychophysical theater background, specifically within the lineage of Jerzy Grotowski. And that work is um, physically hyperbolic. So it is wildly exaggerated. And and the points of that are infinitely varied. But for me, I was I'm very accustomed to going very far and extreme physically in an effort to reduce everything down to almost nothing. So I would
Just
say,
pause for one moment. It
yeah,
just
yeah,
makes me think of what you brought up. Is like it's just circling back to Nicolas Cage and Mandy. You know, Uh,
100%. Um, that is actually really important. His performance in that film specifically was so exaggerated and so fun.
Mm.
And it was so much fun to see him go that far in a way. There, Justin and I were laughing so hard, but it was almost, I mean, I'll speak for myself. It was like laughing so hard because it was like a relief for me to see someone agonizing and going that big. Because often I feel like, at least in my personal life, I that's how I encounter my emotional landscape. And so I feel like that was a big part of what we were trying to play with. And that lends itself, I mean, dance, theater, certain kinds of experimental theater, that's just the realm that we're playing, that we're sculpting. And so that sensibility was constantly present in what we were doing. And I don't know if I could ever get away from that, truly. Yeah.
So I'm kind of along with the theme that we were talking about. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about like the current generation, the burden that's placed on them to rectify the past. And I'm curious, yeah, is there a responsibility there?
well, it's interesting you asked that because Gustine works so closely and intimately with youth in your practice.
I
Um,
do.
you know,
Well, it's fun. It's interesting. Let me pitch the question back. Do you mean more so within the context of the film or within the context of the filmmaker?
Filmmaker.
Uh, so the burden, so say your question again for me.
For a new generation, is there a burden? Is the burden of the past placed on their shoulders, and is there a responsibility to kind of rectify what happened in the past?
In specifically in within the context of the horror genre?
Well, just in general, like like in the being in the world.
Mm. I think, I mean, I'll answer that personally, and then Justin, I'll hand it to you. I think, you know, we all have a lot on our plate. Whether we recognize everything that is on our plate is another story. Um, what a person considers consciously, that I can't answer that question. Um, Everyone has different things that come into focus for them as important in different periods of their life. Um, so I think that's the best I can do with that question. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how to answer that cleanly either. I mean, it to talk about that in relationship to the film. Um, I think uh, I think that we are portraying a woman who is contending with that um, in a in her own messy, complicated way. And I mean, we didn't make the film for this messaging, but if I'm to like kind of like think about this now, I mean, like I'm proud of her journey with like she like pushes through the muck.
Hmm.
So she's dealing with the past to try to move forward. Now, what is moving forward? Is that good or bad? I don't know, but she's contending with the material, and yeah, but I don't know what the youth are supposed to do.
And I think only in the, the character for the character, I mean, we're on the edge of what of her willingness to confront at the very end of the film. Largely she's running, literally, Um, largely she's trying to outrun it. Um, and then, you know, the last chapter of the film is when she's really willing to contend and stay in the arena with the forces that are haunting her relentlessly. And so I think we're right on the edge with her as far as what she means to do now that she's in a space where she can go head to head um, with these feelings. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, in terms of earlier, I mentioned that there's a very Lynchian feeling to some of the imagery that you use. That's very dreamy, dream logic. So I'm kind of curious, like how did you set about like crafting those moments and what you wanted those to feel like?
Justin, this one's for you.
Yeah, oh God, it's how did we do that? I maybe this is connected to you first asked, how what is the response to it? And also in reading your review, you know, it's interesting how experimentally this film is being read, bi- like from where I stand as an artist, because I'm understanding how it's being viewed experimentally in oh sorry, a little hummingbird was visiting me. I understand how it's being seen better now by others than myself and Gustine, but it's like I'm catching up to it because in my mind, with like what I'm interested in and what I'm interested in making, this isn't very experimental, B. So, um, so I get okay. So how does that connect to this dream logic? I guess why I'm connecting that is I don't know. Maybe this is just a bit of like how Gustine and I think. I don't and a lot of that sculpting happened intuitively and a lot of it came I mean, we wrote a script. There was a script that we had down before we really got into the dirt of shooting this thing.
Yeah,
There was more speaking in the film actually originally.
yeah.
And maybe another scene or two. I'm not. Anyway, um, but in the writing of that script, yeah, we knew that there were those dream sequences. We knew that in the sculpting of that script that we were moving back and forth between waking reality and dream reality, and there's this blending and rupturing that's happening between the two. And in terms of the shaping of it and the imagery of it, I guess just you know, Gustine and I just kind of leaned into. I don't know how we did it. We just were like this. I think, at least for myself, like I think more in images than I do in words, and so I think that paired with this film, I think it's kind of evident about me. And Gustine is also like very practiced in image based process, and so I'm fumbling a little bit in answering your question, but
I would,
yeah.
I'm going to say this, but, Justin pushed for way, this might sound wild, for a way more logical narrative than I wanted. Okay. So, uh, you know, Justin really held us close to the bone of a more traditional narrative logic that I was very contentious about this in the process. I did not, I was like a very like, "Ugh, quit stifling us, you know, but he really was meticulous about that. And in so many ways that I think are extremely important for the film. Um, Justin was really able to synthesize a lot of the kind of both worlds element. I don't know if we would even be where we are with that without that.
Well, I
Uh,
think that's where I live. I think like in it, what I'm really interested in artistically often is that like that exact intersection of, I guess, quote unquote, like normative storytelling and then abstraction or poetic logic. Um, I'm interested in playing with that juncture.
yeah, I was wanting to go off-road a lot, a lot. And we did, but Justin would pull us back on the path.
I'm also the editor of the project, and so I edited us on a certain path.
Well, I
And then
think
also that, yeah,
yeah. Well, I think you did strike a really great balance between, surrealist and being more grounded. Um,
Thanks.
Justin, hearing you talk about how critics are like deciphering your work, it like I've interviewed a lot of like artists, like musical artists, and they always say when they release an album into the world, it's like it's no longer theirs. So do you feel that way? And is there kind of like an emotional like feeling you get from that process?
Emotional feeling from the process of like
Like giving,
releasing.
yeah, yeah,
I'm still figuring that out. This is the second film that I've, this collaboration with Gustine and a prior film I finished. This is the second film I've been working and playing with video work for a long time, and much of that has also like come into like intersecting that like video work with performance work, kind of multimedia work. So in some ways I'm early in this process, and it's very different to finish a film and put it out there than the process of like doing a performance and putting it out there. Um, so yeah, is it mine? Is it theirs? I say yes, and it's still mine. And but I think also with performance, it like once you put it in front of an audience, it becomes so many different things. It's no longer just the thing you thought it was, and and it becomes so many different realities at once, because it however someone views it and their experience of it is correct. And so yeah, it's there's the version of it that is mine, and then there's the version of it that's everyone else's. And in minute ways, I don't think it's really the same for anyone. um yeah.
okay. All right. So kind of just to wrap up here.
Can I ask
Yeah,
you a question?
yeah,
Because you're you're really embedded in the world of horror, right?
yes.
Like, could you tell us like how do you see our film within and not within the world of horror? How would you like describe what our film is genre wise.
Well, it's very psychological horror, like in terms of like it's not body horror, it's not like a slasher, it's not found footage. It's like it's the fear and the terror that happens within your mind. And I think that's that universal feeling, I think really that's what makes it horror in my perspective.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
horror,
Appreciate that.
like in horror, there's an ability to address things in the world that you can't with other genres. So the fact that you're look at generational trauma and that kind of thing is, yeah,
Oh, you know what? I love that. Actually, I really that what it's such an obvious thing, but it's so fresh to hear you say that about the horror genre. Um, it's welcoming
yeah.
in a way. It's so welcoming of a multiplicity and um, mul multiple perspectives. Wow, I
You
feel
know,
really moved
yeah,
by that, actually.
what's possible with horror. Yeah, it makes me think B about oh, I can't remember the title of it, but I saw this really great short at Boston Underground where our film premiered, and what this filmmaker was doing with the film was it it was a horror film, but it was a young gay man contending with his queerness and and the horror, the literal horror of being like a not out gay person in this heteronormative society. Um, so she put that through the lens of horror, and it was just so well done. Like how horror could be a container for
Mhm.
for poetically looking at for poetically portraying what it's like to be a queer person. Like I thought, oh, a lot of straight people need to see this film. Yeah, it's like a fucking horror being a gay person in this world. And yeah, so yeah, power to horror.
You were talking about like how like Mandy making you really feel something. That's I think generally in horror, whether it's physically makes you feel something or mentally makes you feel something.
Yeah.
Um, and horror too is like stylistically, it can be horror is basically all the genres in one. It can be a drama horror, it can be a thriller horror, it can be a comedy in horror. So like that, I think that's what makes it such a special genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
we'll go back to your question of like, what is your your intro to horror? I mean, again, I'll go to Lynch again. I mean, he because just then you were talking about the mix of genre or style, and it's just like I feel like in Lynch's so many of his films, it's like one moment it's a drama, one moment it's
Mhm.
a horror, one moment it's a comedy, one moment it's like out of this world dream, and but so many of his films, like I see those as horror, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in that, um, looking at it through that lens. So, yeah,
Yeah. It makes me think of Mulholland Drive. It That film feels like a dream because it's
Yeah.
like this logic of like what is happening, and yeah, so I consider that horror for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like what's next for both of you in terms of theater or film?
Oh, you
Oh,
want me to
I,
go?
I, I'm, I am. I don't do theater anymore. I don't
Okay,
perform anymore. I'm retired. I'm a retired performer.
retired.
Although, because I have so much experience and background with performance, what I do with video oftentimes doesn't feel very it's almost like what I'm doing with the camera or even like Gustine on the lens. It's kind of a bit like an avatar in a way. It's in a way it's like I'm still performing. Um, but I'm in the process of moving into some new documentary work. My film that I finished right before this one was a doc, and I'm pushing into more doc work. I'm in the early conceit process of working on I think it's going to be a film essay with a specialist in quantum photonics. So it's going to
Oh wow.
deal with physics. Um, yeah, I'm pushing into some more kind of hybrid experimental doc work, is my next chapter. And I'm researching cameras heavily right now to buy a new toy. So
Okay.
that's what's next for me.
Um, I have two other collaborators, and we have a chapter in a book coming out through Routledge about um, female practitioners in the Grotowski lineage in North America. So
And one of them's in
that's,
the film. One of them's in our film.
yeah, that's right. Stacy Dawson Stearns. Um, so that's on the horizon. Um, and I mean, potentially crafting some things for Justin.
Oh.
Um, on the horizon. Yeah, I think I'm not so ready to kind of close the door on anything, but at the moment I am feeling more drawn to the examination of what it means to be in an intimate relationship, whether that be with a cinematographer, a camera, a natural setting. I don't know, but that's where I'm at, and it probably has everything to do um, with my life as a therapist and a listener. Um, so how I might like to take that um, into experimentation, exploration within an art practice. That's where I'm at.